All right.
What's up?
What's going on, great people? Come on in the room. Come on in. We are so excited. I'm burning my Palo Santos.
Okay, all right.
Yes. Burning my Palo Santos. You know, I got my shirt on for you, Ed. What that say, Ed? Love. Watch yourself. Okay. We talking about love and relationships. I got my, I got my lipsticks on. Ladies, help me out. If you don't have any lipstick on right now, get your lipstick on, please. Thank you. Ladies, that'd be great. If you just put your lips on.
Brothers,
what's going on, Warrior Mama?
Grab a wave brush to my brothers.
See, this is what I'm saying. Yes. Okay. All right, when we get to about 10, we're going to kick it on off. And wow, great. All right. Big Sweet in the house. Okay. Christy Ray Robinson, what's going on, great people? Come on in the room. We are so grateful today. Today, Ed, is Resurrection Day. Easter Sunday. Yes.
All right.
Hey. Yes, we're going to take that rock in for the grandmothers. For the Clark sisters last night. Hello. We're going to take that rock in, and we're going to carry that into the conversation, resurrecting yourself.
Yes. Oh, we at 10.
Yeah. We all right. Let's go. All right.
With Garnes and Kemi Bennings. Porch on Peachtree with Garnes and Kemi Bennings.
Oh, Lord. Technical difficulties. Carry on, Ed. Here it is for you. Watch yourself.
In my dreams of and today my dreams come true. Woo.
Watch yourself. You remember that? Y'all remember that? Watch yourself. They say our love was meant to be. I like that part. Love is life and life is living. Okay, be serious. So
with Garnes and Kemi Bennings.
Yeah. So we got welcome to Porch on Peachtree.
Welcome to the Porch. That song gives you the kind of joy like when your direct deposit hit. That kind of joy.
This is the joy we're speaking of. And this is Porch on Peachtree, where we discuss and dissect art, music, current events, and community concerns.
Yes, ma'am.
Tip my glass of tea to you this morning, sir. I'd like to welcome my good brother, Ed Garnes. And tell them about you, Ed Garnes. Tell the people a little bit about who you are and, the dynamic person you are. And,
well, when I'm not sipping sweet tea on porches,
yes.
I am the founder of From Afros to Shell Toes. We focus on cultural productions that bridge the generation gap in the Black community and also make counseling and mental health cool for our folks, African Center Psych. I also am a doctoral fellow in psychology. I'm working on my PhD. I like long walks in the park, jazz, and chicken wings. So that's just a little bit about me. I don't take myself too seriously, but as my grandma said, I do got some white folks education, but I'm still down to earth, and I still love on my people,
That's right. Wow. And I'm your round the way girl, Renaissance woman and creative badass.
Okay.
And grandma would say I know a lot about a little bit and a little bit about a lot,
Yeah.
So founder of Soul Sisters Juke Joints, where it's really just taking an interest in, empowering women from an artistic perspective. But we know that is also in deep. I also represent Kick-Ass Compassion in the life coaching realm. I do transformational life coaching. I'm particularly interested in the patterns and habits and generational patterns and habits that, cultivate our experience today. And I feel like I'm a proponent every single day of really practicing what I preach and, being in this walk called life and really trusting this thing called spirit. And so, I'm really interested in that particular dynamic, and amongst other things, poet and writer. You know, maybe we get a little poetry. Yeah, we might have to throw them a little something today from the archives. Who knows? I know you got one in your
Okay.
pocket.
From your archive?
I know you got one in your pocket.
You know,
Well,
I got like one
welcome.
love poem. All my stuff is, because I'm Black and power to the people.
Power to the people. Yeah, we got some folks in the room that can understand that from a love perspective. So, we're gonna jump right into this conversation. What were we talking about, Ed, that inspired the love and relationship thing?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's an extension of what we were talking about last week with self-help, being your best self, living your best life, and that relationships are part of that. I know for me, it also comes out of the fact that, we talk about love and relationships. We're not just talking about romantic love, because the love that I have for you as my sister facilitated this whole dialogue. So I think in the Black community, to talk about love and healing, especially when we are facing psychological trauma daily, Black love is a revolutionary act. That's how I see it.
Right.
So, that's in keeping with how we flow. So if Black love is a revolutionary act, we revolutionary people, we have to talk about love and relationships and how to facilitate growth in our relationships.
Absolutely. And I also come from the dynamic and understanding that, in relationships, just from an energetic perspective, that we're our own universe, right? And everything is energy. Right? Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's only transferred or transmuted, right? So what we attract in our sphere, in the area of people, relationships, experiences, rubs, this or that, it is something of our own doing as an opportunity to grow.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So that's where I'm coming from. Because if we're responsible, it just gives us an opportunity to look at things a little bit differently, and to maybe seize more opportunities as an area of growth. And I do agree with you, a revolutionary act, because it takes courage, to love. It takes courage to love yourself. It takes courage to love where you are. It takes courage to love, your significant other. But also when we put the lens of recognizing that you created it all, that's a whole different conversation. Okay?
Yeah, but that self-reflection piece is key, because I think self-love is something that we're not taught. We're taught, hey, go get a job. We're taught make money. We're taught get the white picket fence. But loving ourselves is not a conversation that we have. And we also have to remember that behavioral change is something that does not happen easy, right? So we think, okay, you tell a person, girl, Lawrence is crazy. Leave him alone. You're expecting this miraculous change to happen, but there's been no conversation about, where this sister may be, what her patterns are. And so I kind of jotted down, if you don't mind my sharing, I jotted down like 5 things that I think are issues in love and relationships.
Got you. Please.
If you want me to flow with it, sister, I will flow with it.
Roll. And also, Ed, just checking in with your tech stuff. It's breaking up a little bit. Okay. It was a little choppy, so I want to make sure to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you great now.
Okay.
All right, cool. Carry on.
All right, so top 5 things that I think about: family of origin issues. When I'm talking about family of origin issues, what are the value systems in which you were raised, right?
Yes.
Family origin issues will sneak up. So we talking about cultural values. I mean, for Black folks, do you even love Black people? Were you raised in a household that love Black people? All right. So family origin issues. What are those value systems that you have? Then also, we have to speak to trauma. Being in America as Black people on an everyday basis is psychological trauma. But not just the psychological trauma of dealing with white supremacy. Do you have an abusive past? Were you neglected as a child? Like, what traumatic experiences have you gone through that kind of tailor or coach your life, right? Then we have the third one I would say is class conflicts. Like, that's not something that we talk a lot about in the Black community, but one of the things that I like about Ava Dunaray's Cherish the Day, we see the class conflicts manifested in that relationship. Someone is considered quote unquote lower class, someone is considered middle class or upper
Hierarchy.
Yeah, it's a hierarchy that we place in society. And also those are very Eurocentric values, because we know we are communal people, but hey, class conflicts happen, especially for us brothers and sisters in America. Then you want to talk about, for the fourth thing, is what cultural and religious or spiritual underpinnings guide your life. Okay? Are you Muslim? Do you hum on the corner with yourself? Are you Christian? Right. Are you Catholic? Are you African centered? Are you Europe? You know what I'm saying? So we have to address those cultural things in spiritual development in relationships. And then 5, and I see this a lot, especially as we start to examine the Black community, this thing called gender role conflict. Okay. So that gender role conflict, like, you know, am I supposed to cook as a man? I don't mind cooking. Some people say that, hey, that's not manly to cook. You know, it's not manly. Right. So we're caught up in these gender role conflicts. So that's kind of like, you know, my top 5 things that I think about when I think about relationships. There's 1,000. Right. This is my top 5.
No, man, I think that's a great framework for us to particularly delve in. And I love how we kind of set the stage for, you know, how we intersect and represent this thing called love and the backdrop of how we experience love. Woo! Yeah. This is great. This is on Resurrection. Thank you, folks. Come on in the room. This is Resurrection Sunday. Someone said power struggles. Hey, what's going on, great people? Absolutely. That really goes into the gender role conflict. Sometimes those power struggles that you know we tend to create. You know, so let's break it down. Ed, I mean, you let's talk about it, because
which one you want to explore? Let's go,
man. Let's talk about these family origin. You know, the family we come in on. Yeah. Okay. By way, I just want to interject that. That is of our choosing as well. It's the, you know, we can call them Kemi-isms. We can call it just kind of an ethereal thing. We can take it back all the way back, you know, just to give some context. Okay. Yeah. But yes, how we come in, choosing our parents from a spiritual essence, you know, from a spiritual birthplace of actually choosing this experience called life, and calling forth the folks that will get us here from a spiritual standpoint. Okay. Yeah. So in essence, we choose the family, and in essence, we choose the struggle, if you will, or the opportunity to remember the totality of who we are as spiritual beings. Yeah. On you, brother. I just want to talk about it. I just want to drop it there. And then I want to drop that down so that we can break it down, so that we can understand it as an opportunity for us to grow. Okay.
When you do your family like this, I know it's serious. When you close like this, and we can drop it right there. So I'll just start with myself, right? So I mentor a lot of other brothers. I do family therapy at the counseling internship that I have, and people think I have all these secrets. Well, I've made some grand mistakes. So I talk about family or origin issues. Most of the people in my family are educators, community servants, raised me with common sense and book sense. My grandma said book sense without common sense is nonsense, right? So I was raised in that communal spirit. I was raised around love. Had love and appreciation. I attached to my parental figure, so I had that emotional support and development. But what happens when we start to choose our mates are a reflection of how we see ourselves, right? So even though I grew up in this loving household, there are opportunities and times where I did not love myself, right? Right. So you saw my family and you saw who I picked, you would be like, we know you like chicken wings and don't smoke, but are you on drugs? Right. Because I had to understand that my choices and my decisions were a reflection of how I saw myself. Those times in my life where I didn't love myself, I lacked confidence, I wanted to make things work. Those were the times that my relationships were crazy. I was taken advantage of. I was beat up because I did not understand the role that I played. And that's why I talked about behavioral change is very difficult, right? But I have something you have to sit in the corner of yourself, right? So if you're battling with yourself, you're not confident, and you're insecure, guess what you're going to attract? Other damaged people.
Absolutely.
And 2 damaged people does not a relationship make.
Watch my head. Believe me. Let me just raise my hand to that same fact, you know. And it really is kind of accepting, you know, that because out of that, I came out of a very I guess really a Christian household, you know, with those particular dynamics. So, you know, imagine me loving differently, coming up in life, kind of just, you know, beat myself up and, you know, basically no matter what type of relationship that we're in, the residue is the same of how we experience that. So out of what you're saying, like if we don't really truly love ourselves or can identify with ourselves, we go through life seeking approval. You know what I mean? I mean, like totally like, you know, looking at the potential of a relationship and what it could be versus actually what it is, you know. I was a proponent, Ed. Clearly, I saw a red light. Okay. Why, Ed, am I trying to make it the color green of your shirt?
I know.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna make it a short because what it is I was at that time I was really insecure with myself. I hadn't fully accepted myself, but I expected others to accept me when I didn't accept myself. You know what I mean? That you know, and attracting people again who are in that same space, you know, and constantly it's a power struggle or giving my power away, you know, out of something or some experience of the last relationship or the last relationship or the last one that really connected to when I was about 12 years old and I didn't get enough hugs. You know what I'm saying? Or from a male perspective, like this is, you know, Uncle so-and-so gave you the, you know, the cliff notes of how to be in love, and it's out of his experience, and whatever his damaged experience may be is passed down from generation. And I think that, you know, we attract people in our lives to help us with that, you know. And sometimes it's, you know, we attract relationships that are volatile, you know, relationships that, you know, you want to be a certain way out of someone else's experience. But it all whittles down to, you know, how am I viewing myself? How am I interacting with myself? How am I loving myself? And then how am I opening myself up to another person in a space of vulnerability? You know what I mean? Not like I got it. You know what I'm saying? Especially in our, you know, when you get over the hump of the 30, you know, realm, like, you know, we get kind of set in our ways. So it really, I feel, is a more intentional thing to open up, you know, our hearts really, and open up the space of vulnerability so someone can step in for the relationship you truly desire, not the one you textbook pictured.
Oh yeah, because it's never textbook. Love is ugly. I just want to shout out some people. Brother Kevin Powell is up in here. Emily
Hey, roll call.
Warrior Mama, Kimberly up in here. You know, Dr. Michelle is up in here. But you know, I look at my life. I remember I had a friend that said, you know what, all your issues go back to 8th grade. And you know what happened to me is that I tried to be something that I wasn't early in my life, right? So I was always the little brother. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was the best friend you could have, but when it came to the 7th grade prom, nobody took me to the prom. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was the best friend you could have, and I think as I started to grow and mature, and then I had started dating, I think I had that residue of, you know, well, last year you didn't want to holler at me. You know, so I went through this phase where, you know, I thought I was a player. I can't pull off player. I care too damn much. You know
right.
So I went through this phase early in high school. I said, I'm going to talk to girl I can find, the most beautiful, the most intelligent, and that's gonna define my masculinity right there. I'm just gonna talk to all the people. I'm gonna have this, not necessarily arrogance, but you can't act damaged, right? So when you have that residue, you know what I'm saying?
That's right.
That residue that follows you, it follows you to all your relationships. And one of the things that was key for me, I've always had very good friendships with women that were not romantic relationships that helped my emotional muscle, right? You know what I'm saying? Because I think about when Erykah Badu song Bag Lady, I used to play that like I was Erykah Badu because I had so much baggage. I was like, somebody release me. I got Prada, Gucci, all kind of baggage, right? But what I realized is that my friendships in those relationships where I was emotionally available, I was vulnerable with other women, those
That's
friendships had a certain meat, a certain richness that my other relationships did not have. So for me, it was the vulnerability piece. I had to lay my emotions on the table. I had to be comfortable in doing that. And I also had to pick other sisters that wouldn't take advantage of that.
Exactly.
And so when I start to make the connections between my friendships with women, I need to look for the same qualities in my relationship. That's what
Absolutely.
That's what
Absolutely. And really consider it practice. I would practice with all my friends. I take my friends out on dates and how I do. You know what I'm saying? Real talk, because if we're really careful, because we're human beings, so we operate out of patterns. So we can look back in most every relationship, okay, and there's something that is common between all of those. Sometimes we play the victim, ladies, sometimes like, trying to be something that you're not, just operating in just willy-nilly, like grandma say, you know what I'm saying? And being mindful of those patterns and how if we look at those things as an opportunity to look at ourselves. So if that pattern for me is I'm always playing the victim, you know what I mean? In Kick-Ass Compassion, there's no villains, no victims, no cop-outs, no dropouts, So you're not a victim as a result of creating the experience. Kemi, you attracted this experience, for an opportunity for you to grow. So why are you playing the victim? And how does that feel inside? Sometimes the feeling can take us to the core of where the origination occurred. You know what I mean? So if I'm playing the victim, what am I really feeling? And I'm feeling like, yet again, seeking approval from someone else, giving that power away to someone else, and where did that come from? And being able to sit and maybe isolate that, doing some meditation or some affirmations to heal that space. Because when we get to a certain age, like, it's on you. You can't, in realizing that we created it, realizing that part of it's our choices, even like by virtue of traumatic experiences. Like, I just feel like it's not like we're deserving of those things. However, when we come to this life as spiritual beings, have an opportunity to, be a human on this particular side, I think that we also really get a chance to heal. You know what I mean? Through those traumatic experiences, through, agreeing to like, yo, I'm coming here. I'm coming in on this particular family, this particular mindset. These particular experiences going to happen in my life. How am I going to respond, react, relate to the situation?
Yeah, and what you basically saying is kind of what I talk to clients about, is that we get stuck in these particular mental schemas that lock us in to a certain mindset. And you from being a helping professional, like our mindset and our consciousness determines our feelings, emotions, and behaviors. Some of the mental schemas we're trapped in is mistrust, abuse. Our first relationships were abusive and mistrustful. We carry that on from our parents' relationship with us and other relationships. Another big one is insufficient self-control. I got one love, but I want to dibble and dabble, I'm all for people setting the boundaries in their own relationship, but you know, at some point we have to have a sense of self-control. So self-control is another one. Just thinking about other mental schemas that my clients have that are trapped in, you know, just feelings of hopelessness. You know, it really takes a hopeful spirit and a lot of faith to put yourself out there for another person. And I think we underestimate the difficulty of doing that, you know, because if we really don't know ourselves and ourselves emotionally, what our trappings are, what our patterns are, we end up replicating that in each relationship. But I have found that the key, you know, to all relationships, my grandmother used to say, you know, nothing in the world is better than understanding. It took me to my late 30s to understand what she meant. If you have understanding with a person, that means you don't carry things into the next day. You know, that not going to sleep angry is something that grandma's talked about the world over, but we also talk about that in the counseling world, like not going to bed angry, expressing your emotions. Those things are very important, but finding people, you know, a safety net, because what I realize for Black folks, we're so traumatized going to 9 to 5, dealing with bills, dealing with our boss that we can't stand, that we don't have the muscle when we get home sometimes to really deal with ourselves and self-reflect. But we have to prioritize self-care just like we prioritize those jobs. Because with the proper self-care, we're going to attract something different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, that's right. I want to shout out a few folks. Tanja's in the house. He says someone has to break the generational cycle. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and back to a point that you were talking about, Ed, you know, I think it really takes courage, because sometimes we play these mind games with ourselves. And, you know, we want to make this outwardly reflection and not really address the insecurity that's inside. Right. You know, I think that it just takes courage to just not play the mind games, or to pretend sometimes as a single person that we got it and we don't want nobody. You know what I mean? It's
I don't need nobody.
I don't need nobody. But also from a spiritual standpoint, grandmama said God gives you the desires of your heart, right? So if it really is a desire of your heart, what you doing blocking it? You know? And why you playing these mind games with yourself to act like you really don't want companionship? You want to look at somebody, you know, 25 years from now and be like, oh, you still there? How you doing? You know what I mean? You know, to play some footsies with a fuzzy wuzzies. You know what I mean? Like, we get in this mind frame to pretend that we don't desire, you know, and that we can't have it, you know, which is residue of being worthy and deserving as Black folk. We are worthy and deserving of our truest heart's desires. And if that desire is someone that you attract, that is kind, that is, you know, because sometimes it's like we don't believe we can have those fruits, you know, all of the great things. It feels like sometimes we just have to govern ourselves to just take these leftovers. You know, we play these mind games, and it's a residue. I do agree that it is a residue out of the generations, but we're here to like have a conscious understanding that we do deserve, you know, I'm worthy and deserving of my truest heart's desire, you know, and being able to then attract something differently in your life, right? That may not necessarily, you know, is this fuzzy wuzzy situation that you feel like you could control, right? Because true companionship, you are mirrors. Someone said that earlier in the thread. Mirrors of yourself, right? So if in fact your partner is getting on your nerves from something else, you know, it might be a possibility that, okay, well, you know what, why am I reacting to that? Why is this on my nerves? Why are you getting to me like that? You know? Oftentimes it's like, okay, well, Kemi, what you really feeling? You know? And sometimes it's like, you know, because we don't address that, what we then do is to project it on our partners like it's they shit, when it's really like, oh wow, let me just check myself, or maybe let me apologize, or maybe let me say, you know what, babe, I was frustrated, you know, whatever the case may be, you know. But we're attracting these opportunities as an opportunity, you know, as a way to sharpen the saw in our own respective journeys, but also to have good company, grandmama say, along the way.
You know, first of all, you was preaching. You know what I'm saying?
It is Easter Sunday. Resurrect yourself.
I want to stomp, but I don't want my camera to fall. Okay.
Right.
But no, I mean, but what you're saying and articulating is something that I believe as well, that we as Black people are so accustomed to levels of dysfunction in our life that they spill over to our relationships. And then also we as Black people have exhausted the possibility that true happiness is attainable.
Okay. This is what I'm saying.
Okay. So if it's not attainable and I can't be happy, well, let me go on and settle. You know what I'm saying? Let me go on and relax some of these standards. What up, brother Fahamu? All right.
Exactly. What's up?
I got all your papers behind me.
Yeah. You know, but in last I checked now, I'm like, when it comes to cans of happy, it's always off the shelf because no one can really make you happy. But, you know, you got to put deposits within yourself and not give that power away to someone else. That way you end up kind of sharing, you know, versus being in situations where, you know, you're codependent or, you know, all of these habits and patterns that really are dead ends for us. And then what we do is we pass it along and we show that to our children about what's a relationship is, you know, being able to have somewhat of a standard of how you're going to interact with your mate, how you're going to take responsibility for yourself, you know, and all that is cultivation for how we, you know, the possibilities on the outside of our four walls called our homes. You know what I'm saying?
Kevin said, can they ask questions of us? Yes.
Please, go ahead.
Y'all have a question, please do, because the last thing we want to do is pontificate. You know, we're trying to slide in solutions along the way. You know, one of the things that amazes me about Black people, you know, I love the word white supremacy, but, you know, we are loyal to things, right? We're loyal in America, especially for Black folks. We're loyal to patriarchy. We're loyal to white supremacy. We're loyal to Western world values. What would happen if we were loyal to each other?
Right.
Ooh. What would relationships look like if we had a sense of loyalty, duty, and obligation to each other?
Right. Well, I'm gonna give us a quick little music break, and then we'll come back and we're gonna take these questions. Right. This is for all you people. I think you might remember this right here. This is for you.
Okay.
Take you all the way back to that teenage love. Watch yourself. Here we go. What was that, Ed?
Is that Stacey?
Who is that, y'all?
Is that Stacey Louder song?
Hey.
I think that's Stacey Louder song.
With you.
Oh yeah, that's Stacey Louder song, Johnny Gill.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Hey, hit it stronger every day. Watch yourself. Oh, you better do that body roll, Ed. Hey.
You took me back with this.
Hey, watch yourself,
And this Johnny Gill
come on,
with the
question y'all. That's
with
right.
Grippy
That's
curl. All right. Kemi, if we was near you, I would smack the DJ because you just went back. You know,
I had to take it all the way back on y'all. That's right. Oh my goodness. Come on, Johnny Gill. That's right. Y'all know it. But yeah, perfect combination, man. That just took me back when we talked about love relationships. Like that was that teenage love, you know, and before my time. Oh, I hear you. So yeah, questions. Questions, y'all. Let's talk about it. We are at about 11:33. That's a great time for questions. Y'all kick it back to us. Let's see here. Can you see questions over there, Ed?
Yeah, nobody's asking on my end, you know.
Yeah, big love to everybody. While we getting questions, just sending love and light to everyone during this time, to families. So many people have been affected by this coronavirus, and some some way, or know someone that knows someone, and we just want to
Yeah.
just continue to, man, I'm telling you, you all lift these high vibrations to not only your family, you know, to the world. Sit still for 5 minutes, sends
Yeah.
love and light to the world, to each of your family members, for health and wellness and all those things. You know, incidentally, we're going to be talking next week about investing in yourself. Oh, it's going to be, I mean, a beautiful conversation.
Ooh.
All right, so we got some questions.
Okay, Fahamu said, how have we evolved during COVID? Then Kevin says, regards to the type of relationship, how do people not bring past traumas into new situations? Let's start with Fahamu. How have you evolved, Sister Kemi, since the Rona has gone down?
Man, okay, so I have had an extreme opportunity to surrender, Fahamu. 1 week prior to this hitting, my mother was admitted to, we took her to an extended care facility. And after having seen Mama, you know, daily for the last 2 years, being told that I couldn't see her and couldn't really support her. And that has been, you know, just everything from emotional, being in fetal position, like, you know, crying out for my mother, like, and then getting to a space of remembering all of the powerful confirmations I received that led to that decision. Also an opportunity to reflect on not feeling guilty, you know, also being able to reflect on Mama's doing well, you know, and so really just the self-care, reinstituting more self-care as an opportunity to balance myself. Sometimes really just being still, you know, and allowing myself the emotion around it, allowing myself to shed. It's been really intense. It's been moments of intensity, and I just stay in the space of gratitude and lifting my mother up in the light, as well as all of the elders, and taking a powerful stand, you know. So for me, it goes back to the self-care, you know, in the area of balance, and allowing myself to feel those emotions, and also remembering my spiritual nature in it, remembering the all of the spiritual nuances and confirmations along the way.
Yeah.
What about you, Ed?
Yeah, when you talk about your mom, it just hit me to my core, because I know how important family and kinship networks are to us. So praying for Mom, praying for you, praying for healing in that situation. You know, I said this kind of last week, how I've tried to evolve for Hamu is that I had to remember who and who I am. You know,
That's
like
right.
I have a mentor, Reverend Tapia, that talked about African people knowing who and whose they are. And so me being in this PhD program, sometimes you forget what is important, because you're sacrificing for this goal. You know, it's kind of a Western world goal, but I'm trying to do this degree in psychology for my people. So just remembering that if I drop dead because of stress and anxiety over a program that might not even be here tomorrow, we don't know what the wrong is going to do, then I'm not really, you know, living my best self. And then also I had to get back to those African-centered principles. Like, you know, I put my altar up before Rona, but, you know, just knowing that I stand on the shoulders of the ancestors, and I have to, you know, sometimes ask them, hey, can y'all show up? Give me the answers. And the answer I got back is that you have forgotten yourself. Okay. And so what I had to do is get back to prioritizing self-care, getting my chai tea on, going back to my jazz, going back to meditating, and just being quiet and still, and being comfortable with sitting in the corner of myself. That also means dealing with past hurts and traumas. You know, you got to sit in the corner of yourself, okay? And so what I had to do, I had to also re-engage certain traumas, like the loss of my father, the loss of my brother, things that keep me emotionally off balance, and try to process through those. Because I said, if I can get to a better space after this is over for myself, then I'm no good to myself or my community. So I've just been healing. I
Yes.
just been healing. I had some ugly cries, snot nose cries.
Yes.
But just remembering, who I am, man.
And I think you hit something on the head. Oh yes, Ashe Fahamu.
Oh yeah.
Just remembering I feel like it's a powerful time for Black and brown people while we in this, stay at home, to really shed whatever that is so that we can uncover and discover more of ourselves. So when we pivot out of this, that we are, first and foremost, arising as spiritual beings, as gods and goddesses, as, who we are as powerful beings in this world, not looking down upon ourselves or feeling less than, really just, remembering who we are, stripping ourselves of the scars, because now is a time that is, we're spending more times with ourselves now more than ever. Some people spending more times with their families and their loved ones, their significant others, more now than ever.
Yes.
Okay. So that is the quintessential opportunity for rubs to happen and for things to bubble up, And I just encourage all of us, as things bubble up, first look at yourself. Look at, dang, why is that rubbing me the wrong way? Or what's happening inside? And sit with yourself for 5 minutes to just see maybe where that comes from, or what you're anxious about, or what's going on in your world, especially with, a lot of death and rebirth happening, both figuratively and literally, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really feel like that's, sitting with yourself, but also staying in the center of ourselves at this moment, and utilizing this opportunity as a time to shed and grow and befittingly Easter Sunday resurrect ourselves.
You know what I'm saying? I think that Black life is a constant reclamation project. We're always trying to reclaim dignity, reclaim our integrity, reclaim our sense of humanity. And since Muhammad asked the question, like Amir Baraka, one of the things he talked about is like your space, right? Walls have to speak. So it's no coincidence that Muhammad was on here asking this question. I'm sitting in front of his ballroom painting and some other stuff. And so I have to see my environment too, because my walls speak to me. Like they give me the psychic energy. The ancestors are connected to me through even my environment, my visual environment. So that's another thing that I've been very conscious of is the walls have to speak. They have to give you energy. They have to give you hope, just like my altar does. I don't want to forget Kevin's question. Kevin's question was like, no matter whether you identify as queer, straight, however you identify, like how do you not carry traumas that you have into the next relationship?
Well, you already know. You already know, man. First of all, I'm going to say at this point, just taking responsibility. Okay. Taking responsibility, again, our past trauma, it's like a cyclical thing. We can always connect to it. As Black people, we can always connect to the psychological trauma. Yeah. We can always, back to the middle passion, we can always connect to that. So, if we bring that to present day, given the fact that the desire of our heart is companionship and relationship, right? Yeah. How do we break the cycle? Okay. In my opinion, and in my experience, taking responsibility is a huge, powerful, courageous act. Okay. So if I take responsibility that, okay, well, I was there in those relationships. Okay. The common denominator is I was always there, and I had choices, and I made choices, either subconscious choices, conscious choices, staying there, not staying there. It was still a choice. Okay. So if I take responsibility for that choice and look at it as, wow, all right, I'm kind of really insecure, well, what are you insecure about that? Or what is it that has always can't come back to your need for approval? Where are the parts that you need to accept of yourself that you're seeking approval for others, from others, or from this person in your relationship? So I think when I took like kind of a inventory of those things and really stopped in my tracks of dating, period. So that I said, you know what? I don't want to give my power. I choose not to give my power away. You know, what did I learn through that relationship? Where did it bring me back to? You know, and what is it that I want to create? And am I complete with the habits and patterns that I brought to the situation?
Oh yeah,
because I was still there.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just feel like, you know, at this point, at some point, not placing blame on the trauma, but deciding and choosing that I'm complete with that. And this is what I want now for me.
And you know, self-reflection is ugly. Like people, you watch those videos, you know, all you have to do is self-reflect. And if you look deep inside yourself, you get the answers. No, it's ugly, it's murky, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's funky, but it's the key, you know, to getting past things. So what I had to do, I was in, you know, my mother gave me a metaphor that I use to this day. She was like, you know, you like community service projects. What she was saying was that I like damaged people that I have to then help, you know, mold, try to get them to a certain level. Why did I attract that? Because I was damaged myself, right? So I
Right.
had to take a huge inventory as to like, what are really the things that I want out of a relationship? Like I had to call on the ancestors. My grandmother visited me about 2 or 3 times that week when I was trying to, and I said, you know what? I want a person that loves Black people. I want an equal. I want somebody who can accept my flaws. I want somebody that's going to make me a better person. Because I
Right.
got some things within me that need to be smoothed out, you know, because a lot of times, you know, I got all this education, but my practical sense sometimes gets skewed, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, I want these things, right? So I wrote down, these are the things that I want. And I wrote down what I was willing to do to get it. If I had to share old ideas, if I had to share people, if I had to share emotions, I was willing to go through a shedding process in order to get those things. The minute that I decided to do that, it's like I felt a universal shift in not only my outlook about relationships, but my life as a Black man in this crazy America, right? And so what ended up happening, you know, I was delivered and got my best friend Lena about 2 weeks after I made a decision to shed and reclaim space for myself to have a different experience.
And I would say simultaneously, there was an acceptance of yourself, a final acceptance of yourself that you had given away in the past, you know, just kind of piggybacking off the top of our conversation, how we were just, you know, acted out of that experience. So I feel like simultaneously there was a level of maturity that happened, okay? And there was also a level of really reclaiming all of your pieces and parts, because now you're a whole person, okay? And you can attract that whole partnership, right? For me, my mantra at the time was I was, you know, shout out to Your Day Balance Game. You know, just we talk about, you know, love and relationships from a standpoint of balance. You know, do you want a partner or a project? You know what I mean? So, I mean, a lot of projects, but 8 of them, a lot of projects, okay? You know, so really, for me, my affirmation during that time was to attract a partner that aligns, supports, contributes to, and enhances all of who I am. Now, the key word is all.
Oh, okay.
Watch yourself.
Okay. We got
all.
We got a question too. Brother Spriley Scott, my good brother, asked the question and said, what were we willing to give up or shed? Something like, what were we willing to give up to get the partners out of life that we felt we deserved?
One more time.
What were we willing to give up in order to get the partner that we felt we deserved?
Well, I think also one of the things you have to surrender is to give up the need to be right.
Woo!
You know?
Girl, let me throw this cup at you.
Recognize that, all right, you know, are we on the same team here? You know? And perhaps we may need to create a space of understanding.
Yeah.
creating space of dialogue, but surrendering the need to be right. And where does that need derive from anyway?
I had to surrender, kind of similar to you, that I don't have all of the answers, right? And that I didn't need a project, I needed a helpmate, right? I had reached a certain point that's stuckness, right? So I needed somebody that I could grow with, that was patient, that was willing to help me reach self-actualization, to help me reach my best self, because I
Absolutely.
realized I needed help in doing that, right?
Absolutely.
So when I said that I needed help in order to grow, I think me telling myself I didn't have the answers and I needed help and I needed to grow with someone.
Acknowledging that.
Yes, acknowledging that, because one of the things about all this education, being a teacher, we like to be right. We like to be right all the time. We think we got the answers. It's my way or the highway. But also I had to get back to something that my grandmother said about learning what sacrifice meant, right? And I didn't know what sacrifice meant. I wanted all these things. I wasn't willing to do nothing to get it.
Right.
I wanted to stay the same. So, I had to give up wanting to be in control, and I just had to surrender and also tell myself that if I made these sacrifices, it would be worth it in the end. Because sometimes you got to do a self-talk. Okay, change yourself. Good is coming. Good is coming. You know what I'm saying? Because I got some messages. I was like, hey, you asked for this, but are you ready for it?
Right.
Just accepting that. And then, I didn't always take myself seriously in my personal life, but in my relationships, I was a little, it's a little tense. I had to have things a certain way, and it didn't go that way. I didn't know what to do. So I just had to bring like that cheerfulness and that carefree attitude into romantic relationships.
Right.
And then, they can be fun. It ain't got to be serious. It's not.
You're right. We can have a great
You know what I'm
time.
saying? You can laugh. You know what I'm saying?
We got another question. Because we create our experiences, from Tashana Miller, my sweetheart. Because we create our experiences, how do we explain childhood traumas? How can infants and children create those horrible experiences? Wow, that's pretty loaded. I think that from a spiritual standpoint, well, from a human standpoint, no one is deserving of horrible experiences. However, if we look at the totality of just the opportunity to grow and experience life, and how we choose at some point spiritually, sometimes I feel like we have even the advent of slavery and all of those things, though that was not deserving in some way. Like the things that we're experiencing now is an opportunity as a race of people to remember who we are in our totality, to remember our God self, to remember those things, but to not hold on to allow it to be a shackle today. Basically.
Oh yeah.
Not allow that to be a shackle today. And it was a horrid experience, but to acknowledge, first of all, our ancestors in the trials and tribulations that they went through. For us to grandmama say, hold on to the blood-stained banner, okay? Woo! To not repeat the same cycles, okay? To not repeat the same cycles, So out of this horrid experience is just as spiritual beings, we come into this world as an opportunity to grow, and I feel it's to remember. I feel it's to remember who we are. In my experience, I feel like as a nurse, and I've just kind of pontificated upon this.
Yeah.
When we are infants in the womb, right? We're so comfortable. It's only at that moment of contraction that we experience this discomfort,
Yeah.
I feel it's in that discomfort. Been doing some research over the years about that. I feel like it's in this discomfort that we forget the totality of who we are as spiritual beings, right? But we agreed to that. You know what I mean? In order to have this experience. So I feel like part of life is the process of remembering that we came from here in a spiritual essence to do great things while we're here. So I think out of those horrible experiences that we at some point in life choose for that not to be a shackle from us attaining the greatest version of ourselves, our truest heart's desires,
Yeah.
and passing on a legacy, you know, irregardless of, you know, what those horrible experiences were. And even we have those today, it's like it not really understanding all of what's going on in the world as it relates to, you know, how do we navigate and move through it as a powerful people.
Yeah, you know, my mentor, Dr. Joe White, who helped found the discipline of Black psychology, said that, you know, one of our innate psychological strengths that we have as Black people is resilience. And he operationalizes resilience as healing in the broken places, right? So we're
Right.
looking at these traumas that we experience, not only from the world, from our families, especially at a young age, right? We are always taught sometimes as Black people, be strong, get through it, be strong. And we saying, heal, baby. It's okay to heal.
Right.
Heal,
Right.
baby. It's okay to
Right.
heal. Love, baby. It's okay to love. Because
Right. Right.
healing has to be the antidote to a lot of these things, because we are not taught to heal. We are
That's right.
taught to be strong. And something that Brother Riley Scott said, that trauma brings out our truest selves, right? And so
Right.
when we're able to use that sense of resiliency that is innate, it is a psychological strategy for Black people. Just pull
Exactly.
on it. When
That's
we
right.
heal in the broken places, we are able to transform. You know what I'm saying?
That's
We
right.
transform our consciousness, and then the consciousness feeds over to behavior, and we're able to do that. I think that sometimes we want that process to be easy. Like I said, it stinks, it's funky,
It really
it's
is.
uncomfortable. But whenever you are experiencing that uncomfortable feeling, like you're trying to push towards something and grow, and you feel uncomfortable, that's growth in action. Growth don't never feel good.
Right. Grandmama say, lean in. You know, if it feels fearful, lean in. You know, and someone else said, let's see here. The universe gives us what we need to become our best selves. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. 400 years of conditioning is a hard case, you know, PTSD to walk away from. Intergenerational, I get it. You know, it is, I feel like it's tough work, you know, in my personal experience. Man, sometimes it's just this experience of surrender with my mother, you know, someone I'm like deeply connected to, like she is that vessel, you know. Man, it's been like so tough. First of all, I'm grateful to be in a partnership that is really supportive. You know, not only does my girlfriend love my mother, but she's also, you know, very supportive of me, you know, and us balancing each other out. But I'm telling you, it feels like debilitating. I felt like I was being born again. You know what I mean? Because it takes you to such a deep place, you know. And I'm going through this, just the courage to go through the cries, to go through the, you know, a box of tissues, Ed, you know, and to lean upon that resilience of our ancestors, to know that we will get through. Not we can, but we will get through, you know. So yeah, it's you know, I think it's an amazing effort to just you know, to be a soldier for love, you know.
Ooh, come on,
Be a
Charlotte.
soldier. Ooh,
Also known
soldier
as,
for love.
also known
We
as
got
Satan.
we have 2 minutes, Ed. We got 2 minutes before our 1 hour mark. And
Well, I
just want
just
to
now go ahead. How you want to
No,
proceed?
you go right ahead, Ed.
Oh, I was just gonna say, man, this is love right here. Like, you know, I feel like I'm sharing this stuff, just having this conversation, and I think
Absolutely.
this is an easy conversation because we love each other. You know,
Yes.
if we did not love each other, this conversation we go